Howdy, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
Yeehaw!
I'm good.
Yeah, doing some Cosmere. Switching things up. We were going to do a Wheeled Reads episode tonight, but we decided to switch things up and do Cosmere instead and do Wheel of Time on Wednesday night. Because tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
Oh, lucky. At first, I didn't realize we were actually doing things tonight.
Yeah, and then my wife's birthday is also tomorrow. So
that's right. We were talking about this earlier, and we were like, okay, yeah, we're supposed to reserve Valentine's Day, but as you get older, like, well, at least for me, we push stuff to the weekend either before or after. Like, if Valentine's Day is on a Wednesday, we ain't going out on Wednesday. And we still got work and everything. I still got bed by 9 o'clock. But if you got the birthday thing also, you definitely can't.
So my favorite Valentine's Day meme I've seen so far is you don't have a Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day. Some people don't even have groundhogs on Groundhog's Day. Check your privilege.
Yeah. It's good.
Check your privilege. Anyways, Warbreaker. That's what we're talking about tonight, is Warbreaker. So if you've not read Warbreaker, real fast, full spoilers for all of it. Yeah. If you don't want to be spoiled, go away. If you want to stick around and listen to everything about Warbreaker, this is a video for you. We, as far as just an update, if anybody's coming to us for the first time and checking into this video, where we are in the Cosmere is Ian and Chris have both read Era 1, Mistborn. Chris has also read Elantris and Era 2. Mine is the last book of Mistborn Era 2. And they both read Warbreaker now. Next up is going to be the beginning of Stormlight Archive. And I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about that because it's my favorite books ever. So I'm excited. I hope you guys enjoy it too. It's just
I thought you weren't going to begin to tell us how excited you were, and then you just said you're excited.
Okay. I guess I can begin. That's all I'm going to do is begin and then no further. Warbreaker. So we'll jump right into it. Basically, the way this works when we record these things, there's really no format. There's no script. We're going to kind of talk about the plot. We're going to talk about the characters. We're going to talk about the book in general. But feel free to ask questions in chat. That's we will interact. This is live. If you're watching this after the fact, it was live. You should come join our lives. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And that way it'll actually give you a little ding or something like that when we go live. So there's a puppy too. Are you a different spot?
This is not your normal home.
I'm in our study. This is our day bed, which you can't really see the bed. This is supposed to be like the reading room, but literally all we have, the dog stays in here, and we have a small pantry.
That's the dog's room is what you're saying.
Well, so I suggested this be the Christmas tree room, a year-round Christmas tree room. We don't use it for anything else. And no matter how I try to make the argument, it got shot down 5,000 different ways. But we still don't use it for anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
It's not even like we can't do that because of the blank. Anyways, this is Brass's room. Brass has a gigantic bed for himself.
Yeah.
My dog has a gigantic bed, and she still sneaks and sleeps on all the couches.
Oh yeah.
That she's not allowed on the couch, but
she wants to be wherever you sleep.
I don't sleep on the couch. That's not what I do.
Unless I'm over and we're drinking Dark and stormy.
Yeah. Oh, that's different.
You might take a little nappy nap.
I take a nap on the couch. I don't go to bed on the couch. I mean, I have a guest bed. If I'm gonna crash like outside of my regular bed, it's gonna be just the guest bed. It's right next to like the TV room, so like I can just drunkenly stumble over to that rather than trying to go upstairs and wake everybody up. That does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So Warbreaker. I guess before we start getting too much, do you guys enjoy this book?
Oh yeah, so much so that I want a second one.
Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. Like, I'm ready for Warbreaker 2 or whatever the name is gonna be, because I think at this point we know the connotation behind Warbreaker, so we need something different.
Oh, we'll get to that. Why there probably won't. There might be another stuff on this world, but we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that at the very end because we'll talk about plot and things like that. So, we started, I guess, last time we finished through chapter 30, so about halfway point. Really a lot of world building, a lot of setup. You guys loved our mercenary crew.
Leave me alone.
They're such good, wholesome guys.
Leave me alone.
I think he's misremembering.
I think so too.
I just want to say
all of that.
I just want to say this book is so predictable, and it's so predictable. Chris and I got none of it right. I don't know that there's much of anything that we got right in our guesses.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be something that we got right. Right?
But at the same time, there was things unfolded like I was pleasantly surprised. It didn't seem like a ridiculous way to put things together. I just didn't quite see it coming.
Yeah.
So where we kind of left off is, I guess that is chapter 31's when Denth, I guess, is this where they go and they go into the slums and they're attacked by Lifeless, and Claude appears and helps them out. They're Lifeless, they have, and obviously people are onto them. It's Vivenna, and Denth and the whole mercenary crew, and they're attacked. And you're really kind of trying to figure out like what the hell's going on at this point, because you have kind of like, just like at the beginning, you have really three distinct plot lines going on at the same time. You have Vivenna, and then that turns into Vivenna and Vasher, because once the crew betrays her, she realizes that Vasher might not be that bad of a guy. You have Lightsong and all the gods, and then you have Ciri and the God King, and those are kind of like the three main plot lines, and they all have their different things, and they're converging towards the end. But yeah, so also I guess where we were as well, lots of things are going on. I mean, of course, Vivenna gets betrayed by the crew. She gets kidnapped by Vasher first, and she thinks Vasher's trying to kill her, and Vasher's like, "No, we killed you already."
I mean, so
I'm jumping all over the place.
You are, but you're not. Like you're giving it all out. I mean, it's just
okay. Let's talk.
That's pretty much
it does start twisting and raveling. We're not on a clear path yet, but it gets a little crazy here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think where we left off is like the ideas, or the idea that Vivenna starts to have about like her people.
Mm-hmm.
She's like got this belief that she has to save her people. She has to bring her people back. Like she has to be there for her people, and she doesn't want her people mixed up with the Rick Rass, and she doesn't want them out here amongst the thieves and the murderers and the hoes and the prostitutes.
Right.
Those are almost one and the same.
This is when she first tours the slums and realizes that's all her people. Like all the prostitutes in the slums are all her people.
Yeah, isn't it Denth that tells her that though? Because she tries to like be like, I need to rescue them from this crap, and he's like, no, your people are the crap.
Exactly. And not only that, but they seem to be okay with the fact that they are the crap, because like they're still doing better here than what they did before.
Yeah.
That's kind of the play.
This is what hood life does to you, man. You get stuck in the hood, and then like you all hood life, and then people come in and try to rescue you. Like, I don't need no rescue. I'm good,
baby.
Man.
Baby, what are you doing?
I'm
baby,
making that bread.
The streets. Leave me alone. I'm trying to sell some crack.
If Brandon hadn't like brought us in the way he did, like I now realize that we were Vivenna. Ian.
A little naive.
More than, I mean, we were her entirely. Like we got brought into the crew. We were like hooked from the beginning. Like we're going with everything. We even had like Claude risk his non-life life for us. Like we felt for all of these people.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, at that point, Claude literally gives his life as they are being attacked by an army of lifeless, and gets snatched. They go to a new hideout, and then of course we have Jules, who clearly is going to be frustrated and ticked off the fact that her favorite toy has been damaged. And then we watch this scene where, you know, they're in a place where Vivenna can't go downstairs because, you know, it's just tatted and worn out, messed up, and they've been there before. But then we see Claude being put back together piece by piece.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat how we figure out how these lifeless live.
Yeah,
or
I mean
how they're animated, I guess.
Right. And we learn more about that later when Vasher starts to explain the different levels of the biochromatic breath. And like, you know, the first level is just bringing inanimate objects, and then like there's different levels, and then like eventually stone. And there's rumors that like you won't even need to use your voice at some point. Like you just think it and make it happen. Like if you have enough breath. And Vasher explains all that later. You get a lot more explanation in the second half as well, as far as how this magic system actually works. And you also learn that Denth and Vasher are both really old. like super old.
Thousands of years
like almost
old.
1,000-year old. Yeah. Because they've been around forever.
Their breath allows them to live just that long. So like I enjoyed this magic system, by the way. It grew more and more as I learned about the heightenings and what the heightenings opened up, and then the different types of, you know, life that could be given, like Nightblood by far the best heightening that has been created yet.
Where they gave an object autonomy, where it actually came on its own, has basically its own. Yeah.
It can't differentiate between what's wrong and right, but it has just this feeling.
Right. And also they can't tell time either. Like, it has no idea sense of time. Like, it's like, yesterday when you told me that, it's like that was 1,000 years ago. You're like, was it?
Yeah.
Like,
you know, like we just finished fighting, blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, that was an ancient war, like
I thought
generations
ago.
Like, yeah.
But yeah. So we also learned that I guess that was created by Vasher's I guess one of the 5 scholars, the girl
Boothang
in the group.
Is Boothang.
Yeah. Who's no longer around. And so there's 5 original scholars. It was Denth, Vasher, the girl, a person who's supposed to be coming back apparently, and then
and that's why we need another book.
Who's the one that Vasher killed in a duel?
And the one that Vasher killed in the duel, yeah.
Right. I forget the name. But...
And we'll get to how that happens too, because that's how Vasher also defeats Denth, which is pretty clever.
Slick.
Yeah, very clever.
Also, but something that's what kills me. The way this was written, and Chris and I are trained for this with our pace with Wheel of Time. Why couldn't we predict it? It seems like it could have been predictable, but I still didn't see it coming.
There we go. Arstill. Thank you.
Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job of making us see just Vivenna's point of view.
Right. And that the misdirection, and she was convincing because she was convinced what she thought was true.
And that's all we saw. We didn't hear Denth's thought. We didn't hear any of the other characters that were hanging out with him. Y'all know them. We're horrible with names, but you know, we didn't get their side of it all. So in not getting any of the crew's side of it, we weren't able to really pick up on what was going on.
Yeah, true.
We were misdirected the whole time, like big time. And it was outright genius.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know if the book ever talked about, that's a good question. Did the book ever say who Claude was?
No,
I don't think so. Like it was I feel like it was the friend that was killed.
Yeah, because Vasher later on, when it was brought up, Vasher like had an awkward moment, or like
that's who it is.
Looked
Yeah,
very upset.
Claude is Arsteel.
Okay,
So
all right.
Fifth scholar.
Yeah, I don't know if they flat out said it, but there were.
Yeah, I think that was maybe in an interview because like there's a lot of stuff that Robert Jordan or not Brandon Sanderson, the other guy, Brandon Sanderson talks about outside of things. So I mean, it's not like this is going to be given away somewhere else besides interviews because it's if it's not in the book, there's no other Warbreaker source material. So
yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Let's see. Did he hint to it? Let's see. Okay, yeah, he has hinted to a Warbreaker sequel. Yes.
We have what is her name? The sister of Denth is the one though that Vasher was in love with.
Mm-hmm.
That also created
Nightblood.
Yeah, Nightblood.
Created Nightblood, yes.
Yes. I can't remember her name, but
let's see. The 5 scholars, I can pull it all up. It's right here.
Do the Googles.
Well, I'm on the spoiler website that has everything.
I'm on the Coppermine.
I'm on Coppermine right now. If you haven't read all of Cosmere, do not go to Coppermine. Let's see. So the 5 scholars are Arsteel, Yeasteel.
Those are the brothers.
Yesteel. Yeah.
No, Yesteel's one. Yeah,
that's the brother. As the brother of Arsteel. And then Vasher, Shashara. Shashara, and Dent. So Shashara is
Shashara. That's the sound. No, Shashara is the sound you make when you eat a pizza bite that's too hot, and you're like,
yeah.
I burned my mouth again.
But yeah. So and then Arsteel and Yesteel are siblings. And yeah. Shashara and Dent were siblings. Yeah. So anyway, little fun facts. Little tidbit. So as all this stuff's going on, like I said, it's pretty soon after we get into this. I'm gonna just go through each plot line separately because it's too hard to jump around like the book.
Right, back and forth.
Nice. So let's just go through Venus first. So she gets betrayed or kidnapped first by Vasher. She's able to use breath and a little bit she's learned to free herself. But then Vasher's right there. And it's like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I would kill you anyway if I could, that kind of thing. And it's around that time that she was able to escape, get back to the mercenary crew. And they thought that she had figured them out.
Figured it out.
And she had
this is that moment. Like they should have waited. I'm so fresh. I'm not gonna lie to you. So like when Tong Fa was like sitting back and she like goes down to the cellar trying to escape Denth, and she's like, oh my god, her friend was dead, her lover boy was dead, but he was never gonna be hers anyway. And then she started like looking around the room and she sees all the dead animals, and then it like dawns on her.
Tortured dead animals.
Yes. She's like, this is a trophy room. And then she looks at Tong Fa's like, I wish you hadn't come down here. That's his voice in my mind. Her voice, Tong Fa is a female, right? I can't remember.
Tong Fa, I don't know. Tong Fa's a guy.
No,
he's a guy.
Yeah, oh well. Maybe it's it. I shouldn't use
well, he sounds like a dude.
Yeah. So anyway, Tong Fa was like, you shouldn't come down here.
Yeah, and that's when she realizes that they kind of give it away that they've actually kidnapped her.
Like, what are you talking about? She's like, and then it like all clicks. She's like, darn, I'm the smartest dummy in the room.
Yeah, and they even say, they said in the very beginning, it's like, we don't like kidnapping. Kidnapping's messy business. And they
admitted to all of it in front of her.
The easiest way to kidnap someone is to make them realize they're not even kidnapped.
Exactly.
Right.
Tong Fa was like, you made it so easy.
Make them think all this shit is their idea.
Yeah.
Like she was convinced that they were doing her bidding.
The easiest way to make Ian and Chris feel like they are with the heroes is to make them feel like they're with the heroes.
Yep.
Look,
they did a good job of it. We could get more into like Denth at the end, but I will say I don't even hate him as a bad guy. and maybe I should because he's doing horrible things, but like I respect him so much. He's not dumb. Like he's super slick.
Correct.
There's so many books you read where the bad guy, you're like, oh my gosh, you're horrible. Blue Finger towards the end, when he just starts, oh well, I'll go ahead and tell you what my whole plan is because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna kill you anyways. It's one of those classic, the bad guy is gonna spill the beans at the last second, and I'm like, oh, what a horrible cliche bad guy. But not Dent. Like he's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
He's just, not on the team that we're rooting for.
Like, and that bothers me. Like, and there's a moment where I'm like, why aren't I rooting for him? He really just wants revenge for his dead sister.
And if there's more books to follow, maybe it gets even more twisted. Maybe the path he was choosing isn't necessarily the bad path, the wrong path.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more reasons to why he's doing what he's doing.
Right. I mean, we know that Warbreaker himself has like had a long time of life, and he may have made some horrible decisions himself that led them down the wrong path.
Sure.
And Vasher, whose name I guess in a long time, what was it? Collect.
He's had many names,
but the one where he has the army, like he was like one of the original Return or whatever, and like it was like, oh yeah, his army will return one day. Well, there's all these legends about this guy that died a long time ago, but it's really Vasher the entire time. And his original name.
I did figure like Vasher had to have been this person. Like that kind of was because he was wandering around kind of rough and rugged but powerful, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Odin and how Odin would kind of like be a scrungy, gruffy old man until it was time for him to like Hulk out, and then
I'll give you some credit. I didn't pick up on it at all when he finally went to go talk to the God King at the end and just kind of spilled the beans about oh, they were holding this great treasure of mine, and I was like, wait a minute.
All your breaths are actually mine.
I gave them to you. I need to borrow them back. Just real quick.
Remember how they said they have a whole entire army? Yeah, all the statues around the entire city? Yeah, that's my entire army.
They've been here the whole time.
They're just sitting right. They're waiting for me to wake them up. Like they're right here.
Codename Blue Steel.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of and obviously he kind of saves the day-ish at the very end, as the lifeless army is marching on Ceres Kingdom. He sends out his army that will decimate the lifeless because they're stone monsters that will just take out everything. Because talking about that earlier, like when you control skeletons and the Western skeletons, they're actually more powerful than lifeless. The problem is they don't hold together well. And he's like,
right. Well, they're hard to initially put together. You got to have them perfectly set up before you animate them. And
right. Yeah. But if you put them in stone, then you can put an exoskeleton around
a little bit longer.
Clever.
Yeah. So, what do you what's your thoughts on Vasher? I mean, he's kind of like the edgelord-ish a little bit, kind of dark, mysterious character through most of this. Kind of in the background. He has Nightblood, who's Nightblood's a little bit of comic relief / serial killer in a weird way.
But if I'm being completely honest, I really like Vasher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's just the epitome of an introvert. Or just a person entire life. Like he's been around for forever. And he just, he knows more about the blood, the breaths and everything. He knows more about, and the thing about it is like I can use all breaths but the one breath, or I can use the one breath and not all of the breaths. And like he knows all the ins and outs. He's studied this magic system for 1,000 years. He has come to terms with new commands that allow things to happen quicker, and he's spread that amongst the people. Like he's not withholding his power or information, but he also regrets his part in it all, and he's trying to make amends for it. And that's the number one thing Dent keeps going back to, is like, don't think the actions that you're taking now make you any better than me just because I decided to get paid for what I can do, and I'm deciding to get paid for my payback. like, don't think you're better than me. You're worse than me because, you're turning a blind eye to your responsibility, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
if I could be critical of this book, it's that this book could have easily been 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have gotten to more histories. You could have gotten a little bit more character art, character development.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting more into the Vasher background would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was some things moved a little too quick.
Sure.
Like Vasher being around for so long, and there was very much a reason why he gave up those best breaths to be protected, and why that army, he initially was like, no, we can't use it. This is just such a horrible weapon. Like, we don't want this race of people to have access to it because it could do horrible things.
well, and that's part of his other name, the Peacemaker.
Right.
Like, he is no ordinary returned, and he was able to stop the Lifeless from rampaging.
And you also find out he's like the destroyer and the Peacemaker at the same time.
Yeah,
like
right.
he was the one who started all the wars because he was
On the
it was
Alpha,
almost
the Omega,
it was
the
almost on
beginning and the
accident.
end.
Like, he was trying to do good, but then
Right.
it kind of got out of hand, and he had to. But
I guess that's kind of my point. Like, he has a wisdom that none of our other characters could possibly have.
Well, except for Denth.
Well, except for Denth, yes. But I mean, I'm talking about like Vivenna or whatever her name is. I guess, for the sake of this story, we got lucky that he was drawn to her just enough that he was willing to get
that was on
involved.
purpose. Because think about Denth when he died. Why don't you think about it? See if you saw what I saw. What happened with his hair? What happened with his hair?
Oh, like the color change? Well, yeah. But she's a descendant of a return.
Denth.
Not in the same.
It was Denth's hair that changed.
Yeah.
When he died. I think he was like the originator of her people. Yeah. Of the Idris line.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
And so, like, we know that the one group of people that could challenge the Hallandren were the Idris because they have that
return line.
Yeah, return line. So, like, Denth purposely went after her for that reason, on top of the fact that he had already helped to project this war. And then Vasher wanted to stop anything that Denth could use to start another war.
Yeah.
Including his progeny. Like, that blew my mind. I was like, man, he kept his hair black the whole time.
Yeah. What do you think about the way that Vasher took down Denth? I mean, using breath to.
That was like
so smart.
And again,
like, we want to know how I did it.
We had
That's
hints
how I
of
did
it. Or there was a good setup so that when it happened, it made complete sense.
Yeah.
But there weren't good enough hints to be like, oh, this is how he's going to do it. Yeah. But he also, in the moment he's explaining it, as it's all unfolding, and he's like, no, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, but it's true.
Like, no one's going to give away
this entire kingdoms, like, for this.
Right. It's so valuable. Why would anybody give it away just to kill the person immediately that has them? Because then they're gone. Right.
It's gone. Yeah. So, because no one expects it. No one expects them to risk that much. But yeah, it's very interesting. Also, you get a lot more about at least how the commands work, how the breath works, which I find it fascinating. You have to be intentional. It has to not be confusing, and you learn that through this whole interaction with Vivenna and Denth and Vasher when they're all talking about it. And
there's
like how different
with it, you have to be able to kind of visualize what it is you want as you're speaking it.
Right. And some commands won't work because it's too confusing. Like it's too, you're asking too much of it. Like, it has to, and you probably could do it. You just need a whole lot more breath to do something that complex. To make it do simple things, you don't need as much breath to make it do a simple thing like grab things. Okay, I know how to do that. Protect me. Okay, like there's really simple commands, but then there's some stuff that you'd say and like, why didn't that work? Well, it's a lot more complicated of a command if you think about it, because there's lots of interpretations of what you said.
I like how Sanderson So it's like he develops this magic system, but it's not complete. It doesn't all quite make sense. And I could just picture him like, writing it back and forth with the editor and like trying to, he's like, all right, how do I flush out all the different nuances of this system? And he's like, I just can't do it. Like, I like where I'm going with this, but I don't know. I can't figure it out. He's like, tell you what, I'm just going to make the one character that knows the most about it admit in the book that even he doesn't know how all of it works. And then I don't have to actually explain how all of it works in the book. So like he explains enough that it's very cool, but there's still so many questions. Like, did y'all just pause, especially when either Vasher and then Vivenna, when they're running around and they're wrapping stuff around their legs and they're like enchanting a cloak and this
armor.
Right. But was it just me, or did you pause and think like, all right, if this was me and let's say I had 50,000 breaths to spare, like how would I make myself a one-man army? Like, like my imagination was running and be like, well, if I could do this and
army of dead squirrels. What are you talking about?
It'd be like Beauty and the Beast. I'd have the fucking candlestick dude swinging around and the clock would be fighting for me. I mean,
and a magic carpet too.
And a magic carpet. Yeah, I'd be chilling in a room and like invite my enemies in, and they think it's just me and a bunch of furniture and stuff. And then like once they get close enough, they notice that like the armoire's creeping towards them, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
Like they're extra colorful. Oh
no!
Too late. Wrapped up by the she-shirt, smother, cover the mouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stop the airflow. Those are simple enough commands.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
How about the little straw men that he creates to find tunnels? And they just run around and they like one of them finds it and the other two run over there and they're all jumping around together. Like, we found it. But then they're like, there's this really sweet moment where when he picks him up before he like decommissions him and gets his breath back, he thanks them. And even Vivenna is like, she takes notice of that and she's like, all right, there's a lot more to this man. So I don't know.
Which is really cute too. The interactions they have, it's almost like father-daughter, or maybe she got a little thing going on.
She got a
there.
thing.
She got a thing.
She could try and make babies.
Yeah, that's why we need another one.
Yeah.
And another one.
And another one. So yeah, anything from
Brandon, no, I completely and utterly expect another one to occur.
Yeah. Anything before we move to the other side of things? I want to talk about Light Song and Ciri kind of together, because this one's, I think, more closely intertwined throughout this. Because I mean, obviously, Ciri's going to meet with Light Song and things like that.
I thought it was a tad bit cheesy but necessary when she, decided essentially was on the streets because she had nowhere else to go and had no money and had to become a beggar. And so like you have this quick montage of her just, being kicked around by the guards and, can't get food, blah, blah, blah. But that was not that she was a bad person before, but it definitely helped to change her perspective really quickly on just, the ways of life for all of her people and people living here and everything. It was a little cheesy.
Yeah. But I think it's good for development. Yeah. Anything else from Vivenna? I mean, I guess we could talk about the very end. Vasher and Vivenna team up and walk off somewhere.
They're walking off to face
off into the sunset.
The last of the 5 that's come back.
But he has to go somewhere else first, he says. And that's kind of how it... I think he mentions that. I think he mentions he has to go somewhere else. And he says, you probably shouldn't follow me here. But yeah.
I think I remember that vaguely, but it's been a little while ago since I finished. So
yeah, it's something along those lines. I can't remember exactly how he words it, so I might be able to actually correct me. But anyway, yeah. So we might see Vasher again, maybe.
I think it's great that they stick together. I mean, honestly, where is she going to go at this point? Is she going to go back to her dad and be a princess again? No.
Yeah,
it'd be awkward for her to stay there. Like she's still too valuable of a person and too well known and famous to live a normal life. But
Right.
I don't think she's going back to the princess life after all this.
Yeah. No, she can't. Like she's all but admitted that that's not gonna happen.
Right.
She's like, even if my father did take me back, I doubt that I'll ever be happy to live a life in a plush palace or a quiet town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the Ciri in Light Song chapters, I mean, Ciri's still with the God King a lot. He's coming around to her point of view, at least. All the priests, basically the courts are trying to start war, but it seems like no one really wants war, but everyone wants war. It's like, it's very confusing because none of the gods want war, but there's about to be war. Like the priests don't seem necessarily, it makes it seem like the priests are hell-bent. You learn later on they're not really. Like,
yeah, another good setup.
Another twist. Well, see, now this one we saw coming. We knew there was something shady with Blue Fingers.
Oh yeah, Blue Fingers. But you see, the priest is actually good. Like they aren't bad.
Yeah,
like they're not. Like they're set up to be the bad.
Their biggest problem is the lack of communication. I can understand why their secret was so important. They couldn't go share it with the whole kingdom. But if you're gonna have a bride for the God King, and she's gonna be with him spending one-on-one time and all that, just you think they would have found a way to bring her in the fold a little bit better.
Yeah.
And they didn't even attempt to. So that lack of communication there was
well, you gotta think she's also the daughter of basically their enemy in some ways. So like you're not gonna bring her in the
smart
fold.
enough, they would realize they shouldn't be enemies,
Well, like, I think that was the thing. Like I think his people realized that, but they also couldn't. They didn't want to out themselves for the negative things that they've done. I mean, they cut the God King's tongue out for heaven's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Like chop.
I mean, yes.
Like, and they didn't want to admit the fact that the God King is just as unable to have children as any other
returned.
Yeah. So that they had a lot to lose in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually liked their God King. So that's the other side of it. They liked all of them. Like they just kind of set them free. Like you've done your duty.
I mean, and Sarah's convinced they're going to kill him, and he eventually learned, like, no, we're not going to kill him. Like we just take all his breath and move it over to the new God King, and he can live his life just fine. Because basically, in secret, as a normal person, just no one will know he used to be the God King. He doesn't have a tongue.
How about the fact that they built an entire religion, knowing it's a total lie? Like it's not a religion; it's the way they protect this gift. It's the way they're protecting all of these breaths and continuing to build it.
But that's Vasher's fault.
Well, yeah, okay, sure. I mean, you could say that. I just thought it was interesting that we're talking about
Vasher started all of this.
We're talking about being good guys, but like, I guess they're not horrible, but also they are selling a gigantic lie to everybody in order to protect this one secret.
When your king tells you to perpetuate the lie until he comes back, you kind of just gotta go with the flow.
But
you're not my king. We are autonomous.
I don't remember electing any king.
I don't remember. Did you elect? You don't elect kings because some lady gave you a sword.
Oh,
if I went around and told people that a lady gave me a sword makes me king, they'd put me in a loony house.
Kalad, that's the name we were looking for earlier.
Kalad,
also Talax and
Kalad. Sorry,
like he's done so many different things. Yeah, you got to listen to the Peace Giver. This is what he says.
But he's also not like this omniscient, like perfect God either.
And you got to remember, it started as a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Anyways, this is all about you mentioning. We find out the priests are good. I don't know that they are good, but they're not bad for the reasons we thought they were bad.
They're not as bad as you think at the beginning of the book, where they're like,
they have some really good intentions along the way. They're doing their duty.
Right. But the book sets them up to be the big bad, and they might still be bad, but they're not the big bad.
Oh, they're not even close to the big bad.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But they got some bad in them.
Yeah. The big bad's actually Blue Fingers and all of them.
Although,
But
is he though?
were they really? They were trying to
yeah,
they were enslaved people.
But you take
They
their
were
point
an
of view,
enslaved
they're
group of
actually
people
not that
wanted
bad.
freedom.
Yeah.
They were like, that's where the genius of Jordan and Sanderson come into play. And I don't know who to credit that to. Like, did Sanderson have that before he hooked up with Jordan? Like, this has always been like his writing style where there is no good or a bad person. There are, and I think Dent is the one that said it. There's no good or bad people. There's just people that do good or bad things.
Yeah.
They make the decisions they have to make to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Like
if you look at
any his people, it's kind of like if you take any country from like the Eastern European bloc, really, and imagine like the whole history of humanity, and then they somehow find a way to start a war between Germany or Western Europe and Russia, get them to kill each other, and then Poland rises up and goes, all right, well, now we rule everything. You might think, well, Poland, that's not nice, or whatever Eastern European country. But if you look at the whole history of things, they've been stepped over and stepped on as people conquered back and forth for so long.
Yeah.
Could you really be bad if they're like, enough is enough? We're tired of being in between.
Right.
Tired of people using us, stepping on us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Polish listeners, we don't suggest you rise up and
no.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm all for peace in my later years. Let's avoid the fighting. But if that was in the news tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
That checks out.
I still haven't figured out where they're going.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting that Vivenna asked whether or not she'd be able to change something more than just her hair. And it makes me wonder, does she pop up in other parts of the Cosmere?
Like full on shape shifting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Rapho. But yeah, also, so we have Light Song too. I don't want to skip over him too much, and we'll go back to Siri. I just want to
Light Song.
No. Light Song's so tragic. Just
Light Song was the jokester, but he was the voice we should have paid the most attention to, Chris, because he challenged everything all along the way. He's like, "Why do we do this? That doesn't make sense." Da 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 da. What do you mean you're telling me I have to do this? I'm a god. I don't want to do it. Well,
why should I have to do these things?
He's just challenging everything.
Yeah.
And he was the most spot on.
and his priest, Scoot.
His brother.
Yeah, it was his brother the entire time. And he was
so I kind of figured that there was going to be some deeper relationship between the two of them.
But he wasn't allowed to tell
brother was not. Yeah, he wasn't allowed. I didn't expect. I thought best friends seemed too easy.
Yeah, it was his brother. The
worst
entire time.
enemy just couldn't happen.
Yeah.
I was like, man,
but he put himself in the situation so he could be his priest because he loved his brother. And you find out the reason why he became returned was because he saved, or he's attempted to save his niece's life.
Yeah,
jumped in. Did save. She's still living.
Yeah, she's still living. Yep. And it's at one point where his brother gets, where Scoot gets so upset with him. I guess is when they're finally down the tunnels, and he's like,
"You're a stupid scribe.
You're a scribe. You weren't a detective. You were just a stupid scribe." Like,
it's when they were locked up, and he was like, "What tool should I use to pick a lock? I think if I just put my hands in the right position, they'll know what to do. Because clearly, I've done stuff like this
you were
before.
Stupid when you were a scribe. You were stupid as God."
He's like, the only thing you ever good at was figuring things out. Like you were good at piecing things together. The puzzles you were doing, not a scribe, but essentially a bookkeeper.
Bookkeeper.
A low-level accountant.
Yeah. Which that's why you enjoy the little mysteries, because you're good at finding the small little missing pieces and putting stuff together.
Right. Yeah. And then I mean, obviously the whole scene in the jail was tough. I mean, so how they got there, obviously he starts following detective work, goes in tunnels, starts snooping around where he probably should have snooped around. Ends up getting caught.
Big old biddies get already caught up by Bluefingers and the crew.
Yeah, and still thinks to this point that it's all just a big joke. We're gods; they can't hurt us. until they bring Blush Lever out. And he's still like, whatever. And then they slit her throat. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You He's like, they're not playing. What was the name of that group?
The name of it was the Blush. It was the Mercs. It was all of them. Dent and everything was working for Bluefingers. And, the name of the people.
Speaking with the P.
Yeah.
The porcupines, the pineapples.
Yeah, we'll go with that. The pineapples.
The prosciuttos.
Yes.
I don't know. I get too many.
Either way, that was really the turning point there for me. Like, they are essentially an enslaved group of people. Mm-hmm. They're treated as less than. Pancall, there it is. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know.
Planko breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So with the Pancall and everything, it only made perfect sense that they were the ones that benefit from all of this and to want to make this happen. I was always suspicious of Bluefingers from the get-go. And then when he started trying to get the Pancall people placed into points of power through Siri, I was like, this man's up to something. I don't know what, but Brandon leads us down the idea that it's for her salvation. And I just thought, this is too convenient.
Right.
And then when the stuff with Ravenna went down, I was like, oh, bet. Light Song's up to no good. Because at that point, I realized Sanderson had been misleading us the entire book up until this point. Mm-hmm. So now I need to switch my beliefs. If he hadn't done that, I think
if he had to put the squirrel in her palace, then I would have been on board with you. But because he released a squirrel.
Now remember, Chris, we can't truly blame Sanderson. If we blame him for anything, it's he didn't give us the opportunity to have perspectives or perspective chapters from people that could have filled in the blanks.
Agreed.
He was very honest with the perspectives he gave us.
Mm-hmm. True.
And they were very believable because they truly believed.
Yeah.
What they believed,
if you go back, it's very obvious. Like when you go back.
I know. It all makes perfect. It all makes perfect sense after the fact.
I didn't have to reread it all. Literally, the minute it was said, I was like,
oh, that works so nice. Like that comes together so nicely.
Like when Tongue Fall told her, "Don't go down the stairs," I'm like, so you can let the big blundering zombie guy go down the stairs, no problem, but she can't go down. That was a red flag for me, but I ignored it. It's like being in that relationship that the sex is so good.
Yep.
That you just ignore the red flags. It's like, that's not such a big deal. It was a huge deal. That's okay. She didn't mean it. Yeah, she did.
Right.
But it's worth the release.
Yeah.
You're hooked.
It was good.
Mm-hmm. And this might have been the first part. I don't remember if it is or not. Was Hoyt in the first part or the second part? He's the storyteller that shows up that the Light Song brings to tell story all about.
I think he was the first part.
First part.
Okay, he's the first part. Okay. He shows up again later with Ravenna as well, but that's just really
cool. Because then he doesn't really want to talk about much.
No.
He's the one that tells stories and throws glitter and sprinkles water on your face. And
he was also in Mistborn, also in Launchers.
Yeah.
Also,
right.
Hoyt. Good little Hoyt. Yeah, just want to make sure we cover our Hoyt sighting.
Why is he important? I feel like Hoyt's the sixth. What's the word?
Wait, he was in Mistborn?
Yeah, he was Kelsier's informant in Era 1, and then in Era 2, he's Wax's driver.
Is it the actual same person? Like, does this get connected? Like this? Is he like a watcher that's just involved in everything everywhere?
In Launchers, he's a beggar. In this, he's the storyteller. So
yes. All of that makes perfect sense.
Puts himself in unsuspecting positions to see it all and influence it all. He could be like a Loki type where he's just like, he's just finding enjoyment like watching all this shit unfold.
Yeah.
He's a sick
Hoyd
lawyer.
sightings. Who's Hoyd? He's Stan Lee. He's Stan Lee. He shows up at everything. Just kind of pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Stan Lee. Yeah, Hoyd. Good old Hoyd. We'll talk more about Hoyd as we read through
He's
Stormlight.
Brandon Sanderson himself.
Yeah. There's a whole entire thing about Hoyd. No one really knows who Hoyd is. Let's put it that way. And if anybody in chat says they know who Hoyd is, they're lying. Because Sanderson hasn't even told us who Hoyd is. But yes, he's everywhere. And
He's
yes, I will tell you. I will tell you he's the same person. I'll tell you that much. He's the same person. And yeah. That's it.
If all of these got turned into movies, that would be the character that Sanderson would play.
And we know he's not one of the gods. That's we know that much. Like,
not in this book, right?
Right. Yeah. Any of them, like we know that much from Sanderson interviews. So that's all we know about Hoyd.
It's Loki.
It's Loki. Just kind of hanging out. Yeah, good old Hoyd.
He's like the god of gods.
Yeah.
As this goes on, I'm getting more and more horizontal and very comfortable.
So that whole plot line pretty much is just Suri and Sesesbron, i.e. the God King, and Lightsong all trying to figure things out. They eventually find out it's Blue Fingers, and the Punkal are trying to overthrow and force war with Idris to weaken both countries so they can take power. And the book ends with them marching lifeless because they get all the commands, and Vasher, like I said, going to save the day. But we don't know what he just sends his army, and then book ends. We assume.
Bluefinger slices Blushweaver's throat.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Lightsong realizes, oh my gosh, this is super serious.
Yeah,
because up until that point,
give me the commands.
Right up until that point, I was convinced there's no way you're gonna get the commands from him because he doesn't care if he lives or die. But then finds out that his brother is his brother. Already sees Blushweaver die, and now they're making threats towards his brother. They could have threatened to kill Lightsong, and he'd have been like, "Yeah, they're dying with me. You never get it." But at that point, I wasn't even mad at him immediately giving up the codes.
Yeah,
again, that's how well done these puzzle pieces just perfectly fit together. Right up until that exact moment, I'm like, these bad guys aren't gonna get anywhere. He's not gonna give it up. And then once that happened, I was like, give him the. I'm screaming at lights. Give him the codes. Give him the codes. Just we'll figure this out later. Give him the codes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Peacekeeper, Claude, Vasher, Taxelin are all his names. Yeah.
And like I said,
Vasher said he doesn't even remember his name before he was returned. But apparently he was someone before. But Warbreaker, the Peaceful.
There's probably some rune somewhere with it carved in there. Someone documented it. We'll find out later.
Somewhere. But that was 1,000 years before all this. So long time. Yeah. So overall thoughts about the favorite scenes, favorite characters besides Lightsong, because Lightsong's everybody's favorite character. I mean, him giving up his life for the God King so the God King can. I mean, God King is thrown in the prison too. And I figure it's all going to shit. And Lightsong's like, wait, I can heal someone if I give up my life.
Now, this was genius. And I kind of, again, I feel like that was that point where Sanderson was like, all right, I'm ready to get this book over with, because you kind of almost knew that he was going to be the one to help God King get his power. Now, how I wasn't sure, but it was genius. We'll just heal his tongue because now he can speak. And he has thought because he's been, his eyes have been opened.
Right.
So
I'll put this out there. I almost don't want to say it. Believe me if you want. But when we recorded last time and Alan was asking for predictions and I was throwing out some wild stuff, it crossed my mind that Lightsong would restore the God King's tongue. And my reasoning was what we knew about him is that he thinks it's the role of the return and how they're supposed to give up their lives for XYZ. It's also dumb. and like he hears all these petitions and they're all the same. And he's like, how do I just pick one anyways? Like, I just got the feeling that if he was going to do it, it had to be for something truly significant.
Yeah.
And like, so as I'm trying to puzzle, well, what's the like most ridiculous thing he can do that would make a radical change in this? It's take the person with the most amount of breaths and give them the ability to use them. But I never said it, so I know I don't get credit for that. And it was a passing thought. It wasn't like a full on. I truly, I'm buying into this. So then I wasn't totally surprised by that happening.
Yeah.
So no steak dinner for that one.
No. It's okay though. We'll get one eventually.
So, like, favorite scenes, favorite moments, favorite characters, favorite parts of this book. What'd you like most about it?
I mean, the battle between Denth and Vasher was awesome. Oh man, one thing we didn't talk about that we really should have talked about, should never have skipped over it. Best but worst scene all at the same time. Drawing Nightblood.
Oh yeah. And what happened kind of quick.
It did. It was like he completely and utterly went off and lost himself in it. So it just goes to show you that even an awakened being that is at the height of the power can still get lost to an awakened item.
Yeah, and the item feeds off of breath pretty much. I mean, it just starts drawing your soul out of you.
Right.
So someone that doesn't have that many breaths can't even wield Nightblood. Like,
no,
it
was rapidly, yeah, and that makes sense too. All the people that drew Nightblood and end up dead,
they didn't have much breath. I mean, they have like one breath. They're just like the normal people that have one breath.
Like, goodbye,
dead. Well, remember what his charge is. He's charged with destroying evil. The trouble is, he thinks everything's evil, and we hear that, and we're like, haha, that's funny. He thinks literally everything is evil just so he can kill. But what if, as we find out more about what he was charged with, maybe there's like some deeper philosophy to it, especially pulling all the breaths from somebody that's storing a bazillion. You start thinking about how power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So probably the most evil thing you could have is one being that has all of these breaths and all of this power, because now they can manipulate and they can kill and they can whatever. So maybe that's why even just to use them, it just draws breath and takes life away.
Yeah.
Like the whole, when AI, you have AI and they, you charge them with, protecting humanity, and their AI concludes like, well, the only way to protect you is to kill you because you're going to destroy yourself. So we have to stop you from destroying yourself by destroying you. We're enslaving you.
Right.
Yeah. It could be something twisted like that.
Now, he requires breath to work, but we know he's going to pop up in other arcs. So I wonder how that plays out.
He requires, well, I'm Rafa.
I
was answering you.
Say, I don't.
You almost got me.
Like, you're right there. He's like, yeah,
Rafa.
And I almost chimed in. And I was like, well, we don't quite 100% know how. Then Alan was talking. I was like, oh, good job, Chris. Drag that bait.
Rafa.
Give it a little yank.
Rafa. Yeah. Because I already hinted to you, Nightblood does show up again in Stormlight. So,
but that was probably my favorite and saddest moment, was when Vasher completely loses himself. And he draws it for a good reason. He draws it for Vivenna, which also kind of goes on the play, like, is there a love story hidden in this or not? I mean, he's so old, like, is that really something on his mind? But at the same time,
it's just a number.
It's got to be for Vivenna.
You know,
he's been around so long. I was trying to get to this point earlier. This battle between these two kingdoms, does he really care? If he's just he doesn't. Like, if you were that kind of being, it's just another battle where thousands of people get kill each other. It doesn't matter. Because even if you stop this one, guess what? In 500 years, there could be another one.
Yeah.
This is what people do.
Yep.
But he gets emotionally involved, and it's not just to stop Denth. Like, it goes beyond that. He has this connection with what's her face, and
right. Yeah.
Maybe there's some redemption there. Like he sees such good in her that he thinks, well, if I use my powers and my abilities to protect her and help her cause and bring peace here, maybe there's some sort of, making up for what I've done in the past or redeeming myself. There could be a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene in the Cosmere, Alan?
In this book?
No, all of it. Everything.
Oh, in the Cosmere? It's the next book we're going to read.
Thought for sure you're going to say Tamanas. I was going to immediately exit.
Oh, well, if we're talking real time too, then yeah.
No.
If you're talking Cosmere, yeah, it's in the next book. Hands down. Yeah, there's one scene in the next book that just like every time it gets choked up. Like it's an amazing scene. But yeah, next book.
Yeah. I think I'm most intrigued about learning more about Nightblood, and Chris hinted at it. What is it? Is it Vivenna?
Vivenna. Yeah.
Like, what does she end up becoming? I mean, look at how much she's learned so fast trying to figure stuff out on her own with limited information. Now she's going to be traveling with and training with like the subject matter expert who knows so much more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And we know who she's descended from some return, which is already somewhat unique. Like there's a lot of potential there for her doing some redonkulous stuff.
Right.
Correct.
Maybe because of who she is and who she's descended from, she can wield breaths in a way that nobody else ever could.
I think that's highly possible. And I'm excited to see. I can't wait for the next book. It's coming.
Yeah. Next book's good. You won't get any of these answers from the next book. But
no, I mean, not the next Warbreaker book.
The next Warbreaker book. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Sanderson has said he's going to write a sequel, so I did read that. When? Who knows? But that's
it's already written. He just hasn't put it out.
He writes so much. Who knows?
He's got to though. It's not even so. Chris, it feels like you're wanting it for expanding on storylines, which I do also. But he also does such a good job of getting you invested in certain characters, and to just be done with them in one book.
Yeah.
What if all you got about Frodo was just one book?
Yeah.
Oh, we'd all be angry.
And then they just didn't. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened to the fucking ring?
Like, what happens if you wrote like this entire story, like about dragons and a wall and ice zombies, and then you just stopped writing?
Oh yeah,
just stopped. Never finished it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. That dig deep. One day.
I swear to you. No. I just. I'm not gonna say this live. I'm gonna leave it alone. I have thoughts. They're bad thoughts. They're horrible thoughts.
Yeah.
No.
I'll say it. He's not listening. There are moments where I wish he would just like pass on
the torch.
That way I have closure.
So if you just George R. R. Martin,
you don't have to sit there and hope anymore.
Exactly.
You just know it's done.
Yeah.
Like for those that have, like, there are other Targaryens out there in the world that we need to know what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
We want the real ending of the book, because that TV show ending cannot be the real written ending. Like if that's it,
it was so bad.
Will burn every copy of the book that I own.
No, it wouldn't make any sense. I mean,
no, because we have another Targaryen that is, that should have the throne.
Yeah,
that in and of itself.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking Martin, so
nope.
I'll stop.
So
maybe Vasher shows up and kills everybody in Game of Thrones.
Oh, there you go.
The final line says Sanderson is better.
I'm hoping that at some point there's a battle where somebody's using Nightblood, and it's like against Doomsday. So they're like fighting in space, and Nightblood gets flung and misses his target, and then just goes off in the distance. And we're supposed to think that Nightblood disappears forever. And then there's another planet and another solar system, millennia into the future, where he just randomly falls like a comet out of the sky, lands into the ground, and joins that storyline.
Yeah.
He just traveled for hundreds of thousands of years through space.
It takes a really long time to travel between planets in space.
Yeah, and he's really just drifting.
But yeah, all these different things do take place on different planets, like Mistborn, but they're all the same universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, different planets. Anyway, anything else from this book? Anything else you guys want to talk about, or any predictions if there is a sequel of what's going to happen? I mean, you have Steele coming back, and we kind of got a hint that he might have found out how to make like Night look like weapons.
Yes.
And that could be bad because you don't want more killer weapons out there.
Why don't we?
Well, he may have learned.
I'm not convinced Nightblood is bad.
Yeah,
I'm not either. I like Nightblood. Like, he's my favorite character of the book.
Yeah. Well, you'll understand really quickly in the next book of where the idea for Nightblood came from. So let's put it that way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next book we're reading is The Wave Kings, the first book of the Stormlight Archives. The next video we're doing is just part 1. There's 5 parts to each one of the books. Each part's like a book. So we're doing part 1. We might actually. I really want to do a live reading. For our live reaction to one of the chapters, but I don't know how we're gonna. Since we have like wheel time's easier because like we're gonna set like schedule reading together, whereas these have been like open. But if not, that's fine. It's not a big deal. That might be too hard.
Reading has been a lot more difficult for me. I'm not gonna lie to you, but
yeah, that's why you. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll get into it. So I will preface before we, because we're about to get into this, for anyone who's has not read Stormlight and is thinking about reading Stormlight, this is for you guys as well, without getting spoilers. Bear through the beginning, and pay attention to the beginning. It is very confusing. It makes 0 sense, but later it makes complete sense, and it's a lot of setup, and it's a lot of like, wait, are we in the story yet? Nope. Are we in the story yet? Nope. Are we in the story yet? Nope. But it's all really important, and it's really confusing because it just kind of throws you right in. But it's great. Stick through it. Just once you get into it, it's fantastic. So
you sound like my high school teachers that are like, just learn it, take the test. This is going to be important. And I'm 40 years old, and I'm still trying to figure out when I'm supposed to use the Pythagorean theorem. Like, where in adult life does A squared plus B squared equal C squared?
Pythos has a good point. The first 3 or 4 chapters are a big ass for the whole series, I think. Yeah, it's a big ass because it's
construction.
It's very confusing, and it's a lot of world building with no basis, if that makes sense. Like, you just throw it into these like massive situations. You're like, I have no idea what's going on. But Brandon Sanderson interview said you needed to do it that way. It does make sense. It's just get through the first 3 or 4 chapters, and then the actual story actually start going pretty good.
Fair enough.
It's still good. Just pay attention. You might have to reread some of them a couple times, but that's fine.
All right.
Anything from these before we say goodnight? Any questions from chat for them about Warbreaker?
Yeah, chat. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Have any questions for us? If nothing else, that's all I got.
Because it's us, we need to actually say on the recording that Ciri and the God King actually did knock the boots.
They did.
Yeah.
And it was
kind of cute how it all came together. He finally scribbled on his chalkboard. He drew a little okay sign, and then had a little spaceship going towards it. She was like, okay, let's do this.
It was nice they actually did find love between each other. I mean, I think that's actually a real,
Yeah.
we're and she mentions that too. Like she came to thinking that there's no way she's gonna love this guy. She's gonna hate him. Like who is this person?
Well, think
But,
about how it started. All right, go
Yeah.
in there, strip down, throw your ass up in the air, and just wiggle it around and see if he comes and does something. Like that was day one. That's how they met.
Yeah.
And somehow they fell in love. So it was cute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you downloaded the book. There you go. Ian, you got to get on it. So
all right.
Anyways,
credits too.
Well, you can. So after that, we're gonna do our Words of Radiance. We're gonna do all the Stormlight. So that's out so far.
But yeah, their love story. I did appreciate their love story because it was built around actual communication. I mean, she literally taught the man how to read and write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course,
cute.
Being a god king, he picked up on it really quickly and then became really, really, really good at it. But yeah, for the way they fell in love and the radiance that glows off of them, and I just, I won't go there. I was gonna say, I wonder if everything he did glowed with the radiance.
Probably that
I'm
many breaths.
sure he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure everything glowed.
I wonder if she glued. She glued later. Glowed later.
Glowed. Gloated.
From the inside out.
Who knows? I don't know.
We should probably end this live recording.
And on that note, we are done. So join us next time for more Cosmere as we go through part 1 of the Wave Kings, Bridge 4. Later, guys.
So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Goodbye.